a man once forgotten by the world, who then made the world tremble. How did an ordinary child become the symbol of cruelty? This is the story of Adolf Hitler, the man who changed history with darkness and the fires of war. On April 20th, 1889, in a small, cold village in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, a child was born. But this was no ordinary child. Adolf Hitler came into a family torn apart by violence and conflict. His father, Alois Hitler, a cold and ruthless man, showed no compassion for his son. He forced Hitler down a path he never wanted. Meanwhile, his mother, Clara, was a symbol of love and protection, but she was too weak to resist her husband's oppression. In those early years, Hitler learned to suppress, learned to nurture resentment. A fire had begun to burn within him, and no one could have imagined that it would grow strong enough to engulf the entire world. Hitler's youth was filled with dreams and ambitions. He believed he was born to become a great artist, to paint works that would stand the test of time. But as he stood before the gates of the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts, reality swiftly crushed all of his aspirations. Not once, but twice, he was rejected. The paintings he brought were deemed lacking in creativity and technique. To the judges, Hitler was just another mediocre applicant. But in his mind, this was not just a rejection, it was humiliation. The world had refused to acknowledge his genius, and this ignited a hatred in him, not just towards the Academy, but towards society as a whole. When the first gunshot rang out in World War I, Hitler did not hesitate. He quickly threw himself into the whirlwind of war, where he believed he could find purpose. On the battlefield, amidst the deafening explosions and scenes of destruction, he felt truly alive. What the war left in his mind was not just devastation, but a sense of power and ruthlessness. Hitler fought not just to defend his country, but to prove to the world that he was not a nobody. He earned medals for bravery, but in reality, it was for his boundless cruelty. The war didn't just make him stronger, it transformed him into a machine of slaughter. The war had ended, but in Hitler's heart, another battle had begun. He returned to a Germany that was broken and chaotic after the war. Seizing the turmoil, Hitler quickly joined the German Workers' Party, a small and obscure organization. But with his persuasive abilities and ruthlessness, he soon transformed it into the Nazi Party, a party with the goal of seizing power at any cost. Each of Hitler's speeches was an assault on the emotions of the crowd, igniting hatred and despair within them. He didn't just persuade people, he manipulated them like puppets in his hands. In 1933, Hitler didn't just become Chancellor of Germany. He became its absolute ruler. He no longer had to hide his ambitions. After the Reichstag, the German parliament, was set on fire, he exploited the event to blame his opponents and tighten his grip on power. The masses, in their fear and despair, didn't realize they were handing all control to a dictator. Democracy had fallen, and in its place rose a reign of terror, where there was only one voice, the voice of Hitler. In 1939, Hitler set out to achieve his insane ambitions. He launched World War II with brutal invasions, engulfing all of Europe in flames. But that was not all. Hidden behind the war was an unprecedented evil plan, the Holocaust. Millions of Jews and other minorities were sent to concentration camps, where they were systematically exterminated. Hitler didn't just want to dominate the world, he wanted to eradicate those he deemed the enemies of humanity. Massive killing machines operated in the shadows with a single purpose: annihilation. The screams of millions echoed in silence as the world sank into the nightmare that Hitler created. By 1945, Hitler's dream of power began to crumble. The Allied forces marched into Berlin, the once proud city of Nazi Germany reduced to rubble. Surrounded and desperate, Hitler hid deep within an underground bunker, where he realized that everything he had built was being torn apart. But instead of facing defeat, he chose to take his own life, taking with him crimes unprecedented in history. On April 30th, 1945, Hitler ended his life in the cold darkness of a bunker, leaving behind a world devastated by the horrors he had wrought. Hitler's death did not bring an end to the legacy he left behind. Millions had perished, cities had been destroyed, and the horrors of war still echoed in the memory of humanity. Hitler's name became synonymous with cruelty and the insatiable lust for power. His story is not just a lesson in destruction, but a warning about the dangers of dictators, those who are willing to destroy everything to fulfill their ambitions. History forever remembers this brutality as a reflection for future generations.